So many of us are in a lot of pain. So this is the beginning of a healing journey that I'm going to take you on. I did an entire series in the podcast. This is the very, very first episode of it, where we're going to talk about how you can heal, how you can come from being broken or feeling broken to getting to a better place with yourself, Allah SWT, relationships, your children if you have children. Let's go. Assalamu alaikum. If you don't already know me, I'm Mindful Muslima. I'm the host of the podcast Mindful Muslima Speaks. Today, we're going to be going on a healing journey. Now, many of us, we want to be amazing Muslim women. We want to have amazing Muslim families. But honestly, that starts with us. Yeah, with the husband too, but putting him to the side for a moment. Alhamdulillah for ourselves. We want to have amazing kids, but are we an amazing mother? Are we an amazing woman? Now, many of us, we say, yeah, got a lot of good qualities. Could have some better ones, but it's not about that yet. I want us to think before we can pile on the amazingness, we first have to clean house. And what we're going to be doing in the beginning of this journey is kind of helping us get in touch with what has been holding us back this entire time and kind of thinking of how we can release those things with a couple simple steps. I'm going to show you right here inside the video that you can do, questions I'm going to pose that you could literally do if you want to just do them with me. If you want to like whip out a notepad, that's fine too. But inshallah ta'ala, this can be the beginning of the new and better you. So where will we begin? We're going to begin with your story. Now, here's the thing. Many of us have stories like, this is me, this is who I am. But many of us, without our knowing, feel like our stories were written for us. Imagine that your life is a book with a bunch of blank pages. And on those pages, it is written, right? Your story. Now, many of us have parents who have told us a lot about who we are, right? You're lazy, you're not good at math, you're never going to amount to anything. You could be better if you were like your sister. If you're not going to be a doctor, what are you going to be? You're going to be useless, like whatever it is. We've had a lot of messaging, and maybe yours is slightly different, but for the most people, it feels a little bit critical, a little bit negative. And those things about who we are written on the pages of our book. And we now almost like believe them as if they're fact and then reiterate them to other people. Yeah, I'm the kind of person who, and we're really down on ourselves. And without realizing it, those stories have really dictated the next chapters of our life because we believe those are permanent. But what if those stories could be rewritten? What if those stories didn't have to be the negative things that you remember, reflect on, those memories, that childhood? What if those things could be changed? That's what this series and entire podcast that I'm doing is about. So let's talk about how you could do that. Now I have a set of questions that I'm going to pose to you to help you think about those and put your thought through kind of like a process that's going to help you. It's very light, it's very easy, so it's nothing heavy, but to get to the next step of putting you into a more positive place. Are you ready? If you can, get out a notebook. I'm telling you, this one is worth it. If you could just pause the video right here, go and run and get yourself a piece of paper or notebook to write this down. I'm telling you, I'm going to put you through some steps that are going to help you to kind of move through that. You don't have to wait for somebody to come and love you and find you, but you can do this yourself as an internal reflection. Are you ready? Inshallah ta'ala, I want you to do this with me. You can pause it if you need to and write it down. And if you want to pause and answer it and then come back to me, you can too. If you want to watch it all and then go back and do that. But I'm telling you, these are the reflective pieces that are going to make a difference. And I want you to do it. The first thing I want you to consider when you're thinking of rewriting your story is, how was your childhood? I know it's a tough one for many people. How was your childhood? If you could go and rewrite it, or if you can go and think about what happened, if you could describe to someone what it was like, the events, the relationships that shaped you the way you are today, what would you write in those pages? What was your childhood like? What were the events and relationships that shaped who you are today? Pause if you need to, write that down, come back. But I'm telling you, this is step one in figuring out how to take back your story and rewrite it. What I want to say is sometimes you don't realize it, but there is some trauma in there that you have not yet come to terms with. Now, in my family, for example, I didn't necessarily have the trauma, but I suffered the trauma of the trauma of the trauma. For example, I had a a grandparent who suffered through world wars, and they had ended up having so much anxiety and fear and issues that went into like one of my parents that came to me. And so there was trauma that happened. There was also parts of my family where abuse had happened. It didn't happen directly to me, but because somebody had abused somebody else who then put their trauma onto me, I didn't realize until I had surveyed my childhood again that there were things that had been triggers until I was a grown woman that were still something that I didn't realize, or had put a finger on it that it was my fault, but not realizing, because I was maybe even told that by the parent, but not realizing that was that parent's story and their trauma and their journey, but it was being put onto me. Could that be the case with you? So as we think about the childhood, we want to think about what events, relationships shaped your thoughts of who you are and the way you see the world today. That is a powerful one. I promise you, do that one first. All right, you ready for the next question? All right, number 2. The second question that's going to help you kind of reflect on your personal story and take it back is I want you to think about what successes and failures have created your current outlook about the possibilities of your future. What successes and failures in your past have created your current outlook about the possibilities of your future? Now that's a big one, not just for your own successes and failures. Maybe some of that messaging came from your parents. Maybe your parents even had their own successes and failures, and then they imposed them upon you of what's going to happen if you don't do this. Thinking really deeply about that for a moment is incredibly powerful, because our belief about what's possible can change whether or not we're depressed, we're hopeless, we're sad. And a lot of times people feel like, oh, I don't have tawakkul in Allah, I don't have trust in Allah. But maybe because it's deeply rooted in a belief that you have, right? About something that is possible or not. Now we know all things are possible by Allah SWT, but if you have been told something innately, like this is what's going to happen to you, maybe that's what's holding you back today. Considering successes and failures that are putting onto your current outlook is a powerful thing to consider. And once you rework those, can change your future, inshallah. I'm going to give you an example right now of a particular success or failure that typically affects women every day. They saw a failure of a marriage, could be their parents' marriage, could be their cousins, their auntie, and that failure of that marriage has convinced them that they are doomed for a similar fail of marriage. Sound familiar? See, that's the thing. Our mind can play tricks on us, that thinking that because this happened, this is gonna happen. But we all know that anything can happen by Allah SWT. And Allah SWT, He tells us, if you want this, do this. He has His own set of the way ABC things work. But formulaically, we ignore those oftentimes. And we just think about what we were told in our past, and so it must be true. And so holding on to those can really make you feel like there is no hope for tomorrow. But often letting them go and reworking them and thinking what Allah actually says in the Quran can change the way you view your future, and therefore the way you behave and act every day that gets you towards that future. Make sense? What I want you to do is we looked at your past and we looked at your idea of your future, and then there's your right now, right? So right now you need to be thinking about those and working through those. And as you're going through those 2 questions, you might have a lot to write. You're going to find that it is a very simple question, but you could write paragraphs and paragraphs, and emotions could pour out. I've had women crying over them. And if you need someone to talk to, I'm telling you right now, we do have consultation calls. You can call me, 15-minute call, 45-minute call. I'll put the link down below. But inshallah ta'ala, I want you to know that sometimes our healing journey starts with reflection. I mean, mostly it does. Alhamdulillah, until we do that and we get really honest, we're kind of only band-aiding things on the rest of the way. So as we continue through, we're about to go to a huge healing journey, how to fix relationships, how to fix our relationship with Allah. As we go through this journey, I want to do it with you. I encourage you to start with these 2 questions to really get yourself thinking about what your belief system is about yourself and the possibilities of your life. And once you've thought about those, you're going to find that so much of it is kind of conditioned as opposed to actually true. And then the cool thing is we could take that story, we could X out the stuff we don't like. And it's not that we're denying things happen. It's just we're rewiring the way we look at things. We could get rid of it, throw it away, and put something more positive and condition us to think of that instead, and then move on with that. And you will see an entirely different person inside yourself put forth, even though you are the same person. It is quite miraculous. So excited to go on this journey with you. If you want to hear more of the rest of the journey, because we've already started on the podcast, I'll put the link below for the whole series in the podcast, and I hope to see you inside. Assalamu alaikum.